Imagine standing in the suffocating heat of late July 210 BCE, in a remote imperial palace at Shaqiu, a desolate plateau, in what is now northern China. The air is thick with dust and fear. The man who unified China, who conquered 6 warring states, who built the Great Wall and standardized writing currency and law, Huang, the first emperor, lies dead in his curtained carriage. No official announcement has been made. No heir has been proclaimed. The most powerful empire the world had ever seen hangs in total terrifying silence. What happens next is not a battle of armies, but a battle of lies, ambition, and betrayal. It is the Shaqiu conspiracy, a quiet coup that destroyed the Qin dynasty in one single irreversible stroke. This is not folk legend. This is strict, documented history from Sima Qian's records of the Grand Historian, the most authoritative source on ancient China. Let us step into the dark heart of imperial power. Huang, 5th and final imperial inspection tour, had begun months earlier, in the hope of finding the elixir of immortality. For years he had feared death, obsessed with escaping mortality, to rule his empire forever. But by mid-210 BCE his health collapsed suddenly at Pingyuanjin. He knew his end was near. In his final hours he ordered Zhao, his chief eunuch, and keeper of the imperial seal, to write a secret edict to his eldest son, Prince Fusu. The command was clear: return to Xianyang, take charge of the funeral arrangements, and ascend the throne. This edict was sealed with the imperial jade seal, the ultimate symbol of Qin's authority. But crucially, it was never sent. Zhao held it back. In that single act of insubordination, the fate of China was changed forever. To understand the conspiracy, we must know the 3 men at its center. First, Zhao, a palace eunuch, tutor to the emperor's youngest son Huang, and master of deception. He held control over the emperor's documents, seals, and messages, a position of invisible but absolute power. Zhao hated Fusu. The prince was upright principled, and had openly criticized the emperor's harsh legalist policies, leading to his exile to the northern frontier, to serve with General Meng Tian. Zhao knew that if Fusu became emperor, Meng Tian would replace him as the most powerful figure in the court, and Zhao would lose everything, possibly his life. His solution was simple: install a weak, obedient emperor he could control. That emperor was Huang, a young naive man who had never been prepared for rule. Second, Li Si, the chancellor of Qin, the architect of its unification, a brilliant legalist scholar who had dedicated his life to building the empire. Li Si was not evil by nature, but he was weak, greedy, and terrified of losing power. For decades he had been the emperor's right hand. But he knew Fusu favored Meng Tian, a respected general and reformer, who was far more popular with the military and the nobility. If Fusu took the throne, Li Si would be dismissed, stripped of his title, and sent into retirement, his life work reduced to a footnote. This fear would become his fatal flaw. Third, Fusu, the rightful heir, loved by the people and respected by the army. He was moral, moderate, and believed in easing the harsh laws that had exhausted the Qin people. His death would remove the only man capable of saving the Qin dynasty from collapse. The conspiracy unfolded in 3 ruthless steps. First, Zhao convinced Huang to seize the throne. At first, Huang hesitated. He respected his father's will, and feared the consequences of treason. But Zhao manipulated him, arguing that power was not given, but taken, and that a prince must not submit to fate. Huang, weak and ambitious, agreed. The second and most dangerous step was winning Li Si. Zhao went to the chancellor and laid bare his fear. He asked, "Li Si, are you more talented than Meng Tian? Do you have greater merit? Do you have the trust of Fusu?" Li Si admitted he was inferior in every way. Zhao then delivered his ultimatum: if Fusu becomes emperor, you will lose your position, your title, and your legacy. If you join us, you will remain chancellor, your family will be safe, and you will hold power for life. Li Si resisted at first, citing loyalty to the first emperor. He wept and lamented his fate, saying he could not bear to commit treason. But in the end, fear of ruin outweighed loyalty. He surrendered. The most powerful chancellor in China had become a co-conspirator in destroying the empire he built. Together, the 3 men forged a fake imperial edict. They sealed it with the stolen jade seal and sent it to Fusu and Meng Tian on the northern border. The false edict accused Fusu of disrespecting his father and failing in his military duties, and Meng Tian of abetting treason. The order was execution. Both must commit suicide immediately. When Fusu received the edict, he was devastated. He believed it was his father's true will. Meng Tian urged him to question the order to verify its authenticity before obeying. But Fu Su, honorable and obedient, refused. He said, "A father orders his son to die. What need is there to question?" He drew his sword and killed himself. Meng Tian refused to suicide immediately and was arrested. He would later be forced to die in prison. With the rightful heir dead, the conspiracy was complete. To hide the emperor's death, Li Si and Zhao Gao took extreme measures. The imperial procession continued back to Xiangyang as if nothing had happened. Servants still brought food to the emperor's carriage. Officials still submitted reports to a silent curtain. The summer heat was unbearable, and the emperor's body began to rot. To cover the stench, Zhao Gao ordered carts of dried saltfish to be attached to the imperial train. The smell of fish masked the smell of death. For weeks, the entire empire was fooled. The greatest emperor in Chinese history was rotting inside his carriage, surrounded by fish, while traitors ruled in his name. When the procession finally reached Xianyang, Li Si and Zhao Gao announced the emperor's death and read the forged edict. Hu Hai was crowned Qin Ershi, the second emperor. He was a puppet. Real power lay with Zhao Gao. What followed was a reign of terror. To eliminate opposition, Hu Hai, on Zhao Gao's orders, executed his own brothers and sisters, purged loyal ministers, and terrorized the court. Li Si, believing he had secured his power, soon learned he had made the worst mistake of his life. Zhao Gao turned on him, accused him of treason, tortured him until he confessed, and had him executed by cruel punishment. The man who built Qin's laws died broken and disgraced, betrayed by the very conspiracy he joined. Qin Ershi continued his father's massive projects, the unfinished Afang Palace, the Great Wall, and massive military campaigns. Taxes were raised to unbearable levels. Punishments became even more brutal. The people who had already suffered under unification could bear no more. In 209 BCE, just 1 year after Hu Hai took the throne, Chen Sheng and Wu Guang launched the first peasant rebellion. The uprising spread like wildfire. The Qin army, once invincible, collapsed. Rebels marched on Xianyang. In 207 BCE, Zhao Gao killed Hu Hai. The Qin dynasty, which had unified China in just 10 years, collapsed in only 3 years after the first emperor's death. Every part of this disaster traces back to Shaqiu. One stolen edict, one act of betrayal by Li Si. One ruthless scheme by Zhao Gao. The greatest empire of its time was destroyed not by foreign enemies but by greed, fear, and moral failure inside the palace walls. This is the tragedy of Shaqiu. It was not a failure of Qin's institutions, but a failure of men. The Shaqiu conspiracy teaches us a timeless lesson about power. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, but even the wisest and most accomplished men can be broken by fear and ambition. Li Si was a genius. He helped create a unified China that lasted for millennia. Yet he threw it all away to keep his title. Zhao Gao was a master of manipulation. He turned a dead emperor's seal into a weapon of mass destruction. Fu Su was a good man. His obedience killed him and doomed his dynasty. History is not just about dates and battles. It is about the choices that define civilizations. At Shaqiu, 3 men made choices that turned a golden age into a collapse. The first emperor built an empire that seemed eternal. But in a remote palace in the heat of summer, 3 conspirators erased his legacy with a single forged document. If you enjoyed this journey into ancient China, hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more epic history. See you next time.